I'm going to do a short one, I hope, just about a couple movies I saw. I intended to watch four movies for March on the Rails. I wanted to watch one movie a week. I've only watched two. And rather than wait, since one of the movies is going to be part of a big discussion on a couple of channels I watched this weekend, I decided to talk about them now so I can put my ideas in there before the better videos come out. And I don't want to watch those until I give my own discussion of this movie. Um, Taking of Pelham 123 because I don't want to be influenced by what they say, or it's always repeating things that they might say. But before we get to that, I'm going to talk about the other movie I watched. Oh, look at all this glare. I've got a skylight, and I'm not going to go up and close the shade on it. See that stairs? I have a skylight at the top of those stairs in this Airbnb. It's a real nice place. Very tiny, but give you a little tour here. What the heck? There's the door. There's a wall. There's the kitchen, probably. Okay, enough of that. So narrow margin. I watched. I've seen this movie before. I thought of it as one that I'd like to revisit, having as a train movie I like because I love Gene Hackman. It's a thriller from 1990. It's a remake of a noir classic directed by Richard Fleischer, I think, called The Narrow Margin, 1950, around then, which I've also seen and I don't remember very well. So I don't think this might be a rare case of where I liked the remake better. It's got a great cast. It's got all kinds of well-known character actors. The big villain is James B. Sicking, who was pretty prominent in the late '80s and early '90s, playing this kind of martinet character on Hill Street Blues, kind of this stuffed shirt character who thought he was a real badass. Here's playing a mafioso going after these guys. Gene Hackman has to protect Ann Archer, who's a witness to a murder, reluctant witness. Uh, she's afraid. She doesn't want to be involved, for good reason, as it turns out. He nearly cocks this all up early on, so they have to get on a train in Canada to go down to Vancouver to get picked up by reinforcements to be taken to L.A. or San Francisco or someplace to for the trial. J.T. Walsh is in this movie. Emmett Walsh is in this movie. Uh, and of course these two. So I enjoy a movie that's got a lot of great character actors in it. It's got some twists this is at this time, I think, the trend or the fashion of putting a lot of twists in movies was starting to come out. There's some twists in here that are going to look very predictable from modern eyes because we're just used to more and more complex twists at the end of like who's really who and all this stuff and all these switch ups and suspicion of a third person. There's only two mobsters on the train that are after. They're trying to kill Ann Archer. They don't know what she looks like. They know what Gene Hackman looks like, so they're trying to get him to give her up. And it's cat and mouse and all that, and it's a lot of fun. A very tense movie, not too long. I enjoyed it a lot. Not enough to go back and watch the original again because it just didn't grab me the same way when I watched it a few years ago. Maybe it's because I saw Narrow Margin first. But it's a rare instance of a remake of where I enjoyed the remake more than the original, and which would probably not be the case with this next movie, which is one of the true masterpieces of action cinema from the '70s, and that's the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. Again, fantastic cast. Walter Matthau as the protagonist. Robert Shaw is the leader of the bad guys. The great Robert Shaw. People know him from Jaws, probably as Queeg. Um, who's the villain in from Russia with Love. Great Irish actors playing an Englishman here. Um, it's about a hijacking in 1974 of a New York City subway car. And again, cat and mouse suspense between Walter Matthau, who is a transit cop, a lieutenant in the transit police force. It's very well written, very tight. It's been remade twice. Once as a TV movie with Vincent D'Onofrio, and who played Vincent D'Onofrio played the villain, and the guy from Battlestar Galactica played the Walter Matthau character. Haven't seen it. I was really surprised it existed because the one that comes up when you research this movie these days is, of course, the most recent one, which is a remake, a Tony Scott remake with Denzel Washington and John Travolta in the 90s. I think it was the 90s. I haven't seen it. I read the synopsis because I was curious about kind of what changes they made, which are some things worth talking about. Because I imagine they're going to remake this movie again pretty soon, in a few more years. Because it's such a great movie. It's a movie that should never be remade. It's of its time in the best way because it's gritty early 70s New York. It's post Vietnam, post Watergate, post Attica. It bears some similarity in my mind with Dog Day Afternoon, which is a Sidney Lumet movie which is one of the great Hollywood movies. Dog Day Afternoon with directed by Sidney Lumet, starring Al Pacino and Chris Sarandon and that guy who's very famous, whose name I can't remember, who only did a few movies before he died. Um, but that's more of a serious movie. That's like an ambitious. This is a popcorn movie. It might seem like by today's standards it would be considered, a serious film. At this time, it was an action movie. There's just such a different standard these days. It's a lot grittier and a lot uh, more satirical and dark comedy. I would say in a way it's a dark comedy. Again, great actors in here. Besides the two I mentioned, Hector Alonso's in it. Doris Roberts is in it. She plays the wife of the mayor, Doris Roberts, who was the mother or the grandmother in Everybody Loves Raymond. She's in it. She plays a kind of funny, cynical character in one scene. There's a subplot with City Hall about the mayor being ineffectual and City Hall being corrupt and venal. And Tony Roberts plays the assistant mayor who's bullying the mayor, who's kind of a sleazy politician. So there's all that background. Plus, there's the tension, the drama of it. Very straightforward. Of course, when Tony Scott did it in the '90s, they had to do some switch ups, like this really ulterior motive of the hostage taking. In the original movie, it's just like these guys, they plan this thing. Robert Shaw is a former mercenary in probably Rhodesia and places like that. All these kind of jobs he was doing have sort of dried up. He wants to make a big kill. They want this money, and that's what they want. They're after the money. And of course, in the '90s version, they have to have like you know, Travolta has a master plan that he's, manipulating everybody with. And of course, Denzel Washington can't just be a hardworking hero. He has to also have some skeletons in his closet where he was accused of taking bribes and stuff. None of that is in this movie. This is back when they wrote things about people just getting on with stuff. I am also reminded of the difference between, as I said on some other videos, I read the first All Creatures Great and Small book, the James Herriot veterinarian book. I reread that recently, so I thought I'd go ahead and watch a season of the television series. Of course, there was a great television series starting in the 70s or 80s, something like that, ran for a long time, of All Creatures Great and Small. Pretty faithful to the books. They did another one in the probably around 2010 or something like that, more recently, and it's again well acted, well cast, or well casted, as the kids say on Twitter. I got to give up Twitter because it's Oscar season really just about broke me on Twitter. The only reason I keep Twitter is because you do get the news pretty fast there, major breaking news and things like that, and it's unfiltered because you get a lot of sources at once. Although they're really censoring a lot more since the war started, I think. But there's this trend on Twitter now. It's always been there on social media where people use their clickbait. You know, people say things just to get attention, but it's really gotten a lot worse since Twitter started paying people with blue checks for engagement. People, a lot of people really have no shame in the things they'll say. They'll make some comment like they'll some comment about the most recent Oscars, and they'll say, everyone knows that the everybody everything all at once. What's the movie called? Oh, that uh, and any of these new movies, they'll say everybody knows this is one of the best films ever made, certainly the best movie ever to win an Oscar. We can all agree on that. They'll put all those lines in there just to piss people off because it's clearly not true. And, they're especially trying to rope in older people uh, like me who are going to be more irritated by things like that. Because they're going to take them seriously and believe that the people are acting in good faith. They're not. They're just trying to get clicks. They're trying to get people to write and collect. It started out kind of like people used to deliberately, misidentify an actor or something. They would say, like, they would show a picture of Julie Roberts and say, uh, Catherine Hepburn has never looked better or something. Probably not that extreme, but two that you could confuse. They would say, like, Jennifer Lawrence has never looked better. Or I saw one the other day saying that this new Scorsese movie is going to be great because Leo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence are the last two real movie stars, which is nonsense. But they say those things to irritate people, so people will write in and what about all the other good actors that are out there, young actors, young actresses, or the same age? You can't say they're the last two, but they say that kind of stuff to irritate people. Now I'm really lost. I'm really off track now. Okay, so in All Creatures Great and Small, the new one, they have they've added a lot in the All Creatures Great and Small series. They've added plenty of trauma for the characters to go through. James Herriot's boss, the owner of this small veterinary clinic in the books and in the first series, is kind of he's a bachelor. He's probably mid 40s, early 40s. He's raising his younger son. He's raising his younger brother, sort of as his own son. I mean, he's putting him through college. He's trying to discipline him. The younger son, Tristan, is pretty difficult, kind of lazy, not particularly bright, kind of a womanizer. They're both kind of womanizers, though. The older brother is a confirmed bachelor. He's kind of a ladies' man. He's always going out with attractive ladies and things, and kind of not really settling down in that way. They decided in the new TV series that's not really going to work, so they've made him a widower who's afraid to date, afraid to love again. They've taken the character of Mrs. Hall, and they've really who's the woman who comes in midway, probably in the second book, is hired to see after the books and take care of the house and that kind of thing. They've expanded her character a lot, which was in itself a good idea for the series, to make her a more interesting character, and played by an excellent actress whose name I don't know, but she's giving a good performance. But of course, she has to, because it's the 21st century. Every character has to have a trauma, a sadness. So she has an estranged son who she's constantly trying to get in contact with, and hoping he's going to show up at Christmas, and he doesn't for the Christmas special and that kind of thing. And backstory turns out to be that she turned him in for embezzling from her boss, and now he won't forgive her, and that kind of thing. James Harriet's love interest is kind of just straightforward. In the books, he meets a lovely young woman, and they court, and she's kind of on the fence about him and all this, and they eventually get married. In the new series, in the new adaptation from ITV or whatever it is, of course she's in love with a rich guy, but she really and she's gonna marry him, but her heart is with James Harriet, and he's kind of a doofus, so he doesn't really have the courage to really go for it with her, and she kind of wants him to, but he misses all the signals, of course, and she eventually she's supposed to have a Christmas wedding, and she leaves the the rich guy at the altar. She cancels the marriage. She doesn't go through with it on the wedding day. All this kind of high drama and stuff. Whereas the original series was just about getting on with life without all these soap opera elements. And in a way, I really appreciate that kind of writing better. I think that's what's so good about taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 is it's really concerned with the events of the day. We don't know anything about the characters other than how we see them act during the day. They may mention a thing or two. Walter Matthau is this kind of acerbic guy who makes a lot of mistakes, but his strength is he is willing to look foolish and reverse himself. He was pretty convinced at one time that the hijackers have no way to stop the train without being on the train. Then he thinks, I think I'm wrong about that. Let's do this. He makes assumptions about people. At the beginning, there's this great technique that they use in this movie to give you a lot of information by the way they set up the characters in the opening sequences, kind of a montage of there's a young conductor being trained by an older conductor on how to do the train, how to manage the train, how to announce the stations and all that. This gives the viewer an understanding of the subway system. There's a Walter Matthau is stuck giving a tour to these four Japanese businessmen, four Japanese directors of Tokyo's trains, which gives an easy way for us to learn all about the workings of the behind the scenes security and management of the train system, done with a lot of comedy because Walter Matthau doesn't want to be doing this, and he also is working under the assumption that the four Japanese businessmen don't speak English, which at the end he finds out they do. So it's a good reversal on him. And, as opposed to the way they do it in movies now, where they just have two characters who should already know stuff, explain it to each other, like in a CSI or anything. They're all super competent people. They all have all the knowledge, but for some reason they still explain it to each other. Just read a review of the new Count of Monte Cristo. It was a negative review of the series of a mini series of Count of Monte Cristo that's running or recently ran, where the reviewer complained about dialogue like in a storm, a character saying, "If we don't make it through this storm, we'll be destroyed," or something like that. Just nonsense dialogue that really doesn't move the plot or anything. But these people who wrote this movie in the 70s really knew how to move things along. There's no backstory. We know a little bit. We know Robert Shaw's a mercenary. We know that one of the hijackers is ex was so Hector Alonso was so difficult to deal with that he was actually thrown out of the mafia. So we've got this crew put together. The Martin Balsam plays another one who's got a grudge with the city for being fired. Mainly their motivation is money. Walter Matthau's motivation is catching them and making sure the hostages survive, and that's it. That's what makes a great tight suspense movie. It's not all these backstories. And if the movie were made today, Walter Matthau, I guarantee that this would be in a movie in the next remake. This will be in the movie. The Walter Matthau character will have a daughter who is in New York, an estranged adult daughter who is, and he's divorced. We don't know anything in this movie about his marital status. Does he have kids? Does he not? Is he workaholic? No, we don't know. We just know he's focused on getting this job done today. But he will have ex-wife. He will have an adult daughter who he has an estranged relationship with. She will be in New York City only for this day. He will have promised to make up for his past by spending the afternoon with her, and then he will have to cancel because of this hijacking situation. And she'll be like, "You always do this to me," and blah blah blah. And he will feel bad and go, "Oh, it'll only be an hour. I'll be there in an hour." And she'll be like, "Fine, screw it. You're really an awful father." And he'll be, "I'm a terrible father. I'm failing because I have to do because I'm never available because there's always some hijacking or kidnapping and I have to work." And in the end, she'll be sitting at a bar drinking, and she'll be angry, and she'll be about to go home. And on the TV, she will see how Walter Matthau saved the day, saved the hostages, and she will look at the TV and she will nod and she will say, "That's my father." I guarantee that'll be in that movie because it's in every movie now. Um, um, but we don't, fortunately, we don't have to deal with that kind of stuff in this movie. It's just a tight, lean thriller. If you're a younger person, you might be shocked at the way people talk to each other. Um, the good guys, the bad guys. You might be shocked at people's attitudes towards each other, but it was very accurate to the time. And again, this was in New York, was a very cynical time. The movie looks great. It is really grubby. Jerry Stiller's even in it. Uh, they all look like real New Yorkers who have jobs. They have they have mismatching outfits. They have politically incorrect views. Uh, HR is never brought in. um, the mayor's self-serving creep. His deputy Tony Roberts is a slick manipulator. It's fantastic on all levels. It has high stakes but not ridiculous stakes. It's something that is so absurd that people keep repeating. What do you mean someone hijacked a train station? How the hell are they going to get out of the tunnel? They have a way to get out of the tunnel. It's plausible. Everything in the movie is fairly plausible. I guess it's just really fun to watch and really tense. I can't imagine people not being entertained by it today. If they can get past the use of some offensive words, some offensive attitudes, that kind of thing. Um, I'd be curious if younger people. I don't think any younger people watch the show, but if people who are used to watching, Avengers or whatever it is, or the kind of movies that come out today, if they wouldn't enjoy this just because of the pacing. It's directed by a guy who didn't direct a lot of theatrical releases. He mostly directed TV movies, including some really good ones. I was surprised, going down the list. I don't know. I guess I won't bother to go with it, but uh, a lot of really good movies I saw later, very different styles. He kind of, after he did this, you would think he would have a big movie career. It doesn't always work out that way. He kind of liked to work in television anyway. One movie he did was the pilot for Kojak. He also did Jaws 3, which was a huge bomb. And in just a couple years after that, and I think that kind of wrecked his career. But we have this 70s gritty, entertaining masterpiece. This is not heavy. It's not a heavy film with a lot of ideas that you have to grapple with. It's a movie of right and wrong, but just set in a more realistic atmosphere and tone, and without a lot of soap opera. It's just people trying to get things done, bad guys trying to get bad things done, good guys trying to stop them. And I give it two thumbs up. So I'm looking forward to watching. I know Steve Donahue did a review of it recently on his channel, which I have not watched yet. And this weekend, Randy Ray on uh, I don't think on his main channel. When I find it, I'll post the thing. I bet Randy Ray and Steve Donahue and another friend of theirs. I apologize. It's a channel. It's new to me. Are going to get together and talk about it. I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll put a link to that when I find it or after it appears. Okay, talk to you later.